So I want to go over something that all DJs really must know. And if you don't know this, then stick around, because this is absolutely essential information if you want your mixes to be clean and punchy. If you're not doing this, then your mixes are going to be clouded, muddy, congested, boomy. If you aren't doing this technique, then you need to start implementing it now. And I'm going to give you the scientific reasoning behind it, and that in itself will help you understand why this is essential. Now, depending on where you are in your DJ journey, you've probably heard by now that DJs cross their lows so that there's no muddiness and congestion in the low frequency band. However, that is not just specific to the EQs on the channels. So low frequency EQs, absolutely, you want to be ensuring that you're not having so much low frequency information congesting the mix at any one time. And the reason being is because low frequency is high energy. It's got huge, long sound waves. Well, they don't go that way, they actually go that way, but the way that we see them in a two-dimensional drawing is a sound wave like that. It's energy displacement. So in the air right now, if you move your hand, you feel wind, you're displacing the air, you're moving back and forth. That's energy. You're using your energy to displace the air. And that essentially is what sound is. It's displacing the air, it's creating positive, negative pressure. And that's, if you look at your speakers, if you turn the volumes up really loud, you'll see the cone going in and out. It's displacing the air pressure. And the more bass the frequency has, the bigger the waves, the more that cone is moving back and forth. If you've got a set of speakers, you might see a little round, small part at the top. That's called the tweeter. And that's literally the size of what's required in order to produce high frequencies. Whereas you need that huge cone, that dome in the middle, to displace huge walls of energy. And when that energy enters into the room, it rattles objects. It vibrates. If you have a very bass-driven room, you've got things shaking and wobbling. If you're in a nightclub, you've got the designated bass bins and they're creating huge walls of sound. You need that to be very clean and clear. And that's why we cross these low frequency bands. But it's also why we don't apply effects to that low frequency. And so one thing that I see a lot of DJs still doing is applying time-based effects to low frequency information. One time-based effect that is pretty much a no, and really most of them are a no, but this one definitely, is reverb. When you've got reverb, so say you've got reverb here and you want to apply that to track 3 and you turn it up and you've got reverb coming out on this track where it's a full frequency picture with low frequency in the picture, you've got a huge wall of energy now being washed with reverb. We know what reverb sounds like, but what is reverb? Reverb is, so say you go into a bathroom and you clap, that would be reverb. The act of you clapping is sending sound to the tiles on the wall. But those tiles reflect that sound back very, very quickly. It's in a sense a very, very short echo, a shorter version of delay. And because it's so short, it creates ambience, but it is a delay. It's a time-based effect. It's a sound that travels to a location and back to the listener. And if you place time-based effects like reverb onto bass frequency content, you are in essence taking that huge wall of energy, throwing it onto a tiled wall, back to the listener, back to the tiled wall, back to the listener, back to the tiled wall. And what you've created is an echo chamber, and it's chaotic, it's boomy, and even if you do have your low frequency turned down on one of your tunes, you've now got a rumbling mess full of reverb on the other tune. So let's have a listen to what it sounds like when we put reverb on bass frequency content. Obviously just maximizing the effects there so you can hear it, but you can tell that with those reflections going on that low band, you've got this whooshing, woo, like it's almost like there's a storm in a chamber. And so just as it's important to ensure that only one low frequency band is up on your channel, either with your reverb, if you have the option on your beat effects panel to disable the lows, then you can apply whatever time-based effects. Without the lows, it means that the reverb is only processing the mid and the high frequency band. You keep your low frequency dry in the mix, but you still add reverb to the mix by targeting just the mids and the highs. Another way you can do it is to turn down the lows on the channel fader. Or if you want to apply reverb, you just apply it to a section where there's no bass content. So let's do all three. This is not just applicable to reverb. Reverb creates ambience because the reflections are really short, but then you step up to a delay or an echo and the same goes. It's even more important not to be adding those effects to the low frequency because the time that it takes for a delay to come back to the listener and then for a echo to come back to the listener is much, much longer. And if you send all of that energy far away and then it comes back much later, something else has already started. So the track's still playing, you've got a reflection coming back, but you've got something else playing now that's totally different. And when something else, like maybe a bar later, is playing something different, you've got this wall of echo coming back, clashing with something else in the bass frequency that is entirely different to what's being met. So just be careful with your time-based effects and be careful with applying reverb to your low frequencies. If you'd like to learn more from me, my courses are below, a full comprehensive guide with a bit of history and a bit of science in there, because those things I feel are really important when learning how to DJ. By understanding why, it means you can take away that information and use it to your advantage when you level up without needing to watch a tutorial. Courses below, website below, socials below, check everything out below, and I will see you for another video. Bye!